cast my mind to Calvary, where Jesus bled and died for me. I see his wounds, his hands, his feet, my Savior on that cursed tree. His body bound and drenched in tears, they laid him down in Joseph's tomb, the entrance sealed by heavy stone. Messiah still and dawn. Sing, oh, praise the name.
Of what he has done in our lives, but in anticipation of what is to come as well. So Liberty, as we sing this song, let's sing it with hearts filled of gratitude and thankfulness for what he has done in our lives, but also what is to come. So come on, sing this out. Sing, oh praise. Oh praise.
Such a great reminder this morning in that song that heaven will be a forever worship service. Heaven will be a day when there'll be no more sorrow, no more tears, no more brokenness, no more orphans, no more marriages that have fallen apart. Heaven will be a forever worship service where every nation, every tongue, every tribe will gather at the feet of Jesus. And we will bow down and say, forever, forever, God, you reign. If you don't like singing to the Lord, you're gonna hate heaven because it's just a long worship service. But man, isn't it great that we'll be together in heaven? And when I think about that, I think about people that we've lost and people that we've mourned even in funerals, and it won't be a forever goodbye because in heaven we'll be next to them making much of God. Let's worship together, Father. Thank you for this moment that you've given us. Thank you, Father, for the ministry of your people singing over one another. And we pray that today, Lord, you would be glorified in all that we do. We pray this in your name. Amen. Hey, as you're having a seat, can we thank the worship collective for leading us? They're amazing. Of course, tonight, the worship collective will be right back in here at 6:30 for our It's Complicated Campus Community Series. It's gonna be pretty fun tonight. I have to be in New York tonight at a meeting with the president of Egypt, and so pray for us as we minister to them. It's gonna be a pretty awesome meeting. But tonight, good news, we have the one, the only Clayton King coming, and I can't wait for him to unpack something that's brand new. It's gonna dovetail right into our It's Complicated series on relationships. Recently, Clayton has had a lot of his family members that he's never met come into his life. As a matter of fact, he made a video for us about tonight. Let's watch this, and then we will have the introduction of our two guests.
Hey guys, Clayton King here. I wanted to tell you how excited I am to be coming to Liberty University this coming Wednesday night for Campus Community. Pastor David invited me to come and share a story as part of the It's Complicated Relationship series. And my story is pretty incredible. I was adopted when I was just a couple of weeks old, and up until just a few months ago, I had no idea where I came from, who my family was, or the circumstances even surrounding my adoption. But through some crazy miracles and the hard work of some folks at New Spring Church where I pastor, I was able to be acquainted with and to meet my biological family for the first time. I had a brother and a sister I didn't even know existed, aunts, uncles, cousins. It's an amazing story. And yes, it's complicated, but it's really cool to see how God came through. I look forward to being back on campus this coming Wednesday night for Campus Community. I'll see you there.
All right, good morning, Liberty. Let's give another big hand to Pastor David Nasser for all he does. I'm Dave Bratt. I'm the dean of the business school. We had a great we had a great morning. We got to cut the red ribbon this morning, open the business school officially. We're going to have a little clip of that coming up for you. But we had two superstars over with us to help on the opening. I'm going to briefly introduce them. And I also want to give a shout out to the visionary and entrepreneur at Liberty, President Falwell, his wife Becky, and their family were with us. And thank you for their guiding vision for opening that business school and giving us a home where our faculty and students can all come together. Let's give a round to President Falwell. Thank you. All right, we got two superstars with us. One of them is a friend of mine, Todd Starnes, Fox Radio. He interviews me. He had me on a couple weeks ago, so today I get to put him in the hot seat and ask him a couple tough questions. It'll all be friendly. He hosts the Starnes Country on Fox Nation and the Todd Starnes Radio Show, hosts a daily short-form radio commentary heard by 500-plus radio stations across the nation, writes a syndicated newspaper column for websites including foxnews.com and townhall.com. He's a recipient of an Edward R. Murrow Award and an Associated Press Mark Twain Award for storytelling. In 2014, he was awarded the National Religious Broadcasters Board of Directors Award, and he's going to share his faith with you, as well as the book he's got out called Culture Jihad, which is available after Condo on the side. And then our second guest is a friend of mine going back in economics. His name is Dr. Art Laffer. Yeah, so the economists know, founder of the Laffer curve back with President Ronald Reagan. He won't take credit for that, but he served prime ministers, Thatcher, a series, every president basically since Reagan, and we'll get into that with Dr. Laffer. For your students, his background, he earned an economics degree at Yale, and then an MBA and a PhD from Stanford. He received tenure at the University of Chicago, that's the home of Milton Friedman, et cetera, after 2 years after his dissertation, which is unheard of. He served the U.S. Treasury, Defense Departments under a few presidents. And recently, under President Donald Trump, he was an architect of the tax cut policy. So if you like getting bigger paychecks, you can thank him for that one. And for his life's work, about a month or two ago, he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Donald Trump on June 19, 2019. The Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest award given to any civilian in our country. Let's give Art a round of applause on that one. His new book, Trumponomics 2018, is also available side stage after Convo, and he might even be able to sign a few of those for you. I'm going to invite all of our guests up to the stage for a conversation, and as we do that, we're going to throw to a clip on the opening of the business school that we're so proud of, and so look up above and thank God. This building behind us represents a significant investment and milestone for the Liberty University family in service to its core mission of training champions for Christ. This new building will serve as a source of inspiration for students both now and in years to come, to give them the necessary tools and skill sets needed, not just to secure a job today, but to become the visionaries, innovators, and entrepreneurs of bright and powerful new industries tomorrow.
I'm so proud that this building is front and center on the highway, because that's what built this school, was entrepreneurism and a willingness to take huge risks and to persevere.
Come on, let's put our hands together for this incredible day. Congratulations, Dr. Bratt. What a wonderful thing. We thought what we would do today, rather than having two different keynote guests, is to just have a conversation of Q&A style with both of our distinguished guests. And the way that we're going to do that is Dr. Bratt will ask a few questions. President Falwell has some questions as well. First for Mr. Laffer, and then we'll go to Todd. And then past that, we'll just kind of get into one last round of questions, kind of just all of us speaking into the culture and these issues. And so one more time, can we just put our hands together for them? Go ahead, Dr. Bratt.
Great, thank you guys. Thank you, David. Yeah, we'll lead off Dr. Laffer, 10,000 students to talk to, no pressure. I think they want to hear what was your passion? How did you get into economics? What guided you to study so hard and to achieve excellence and success? And then if you want to give them any counsel on the passion you had and how to achieve that in their lives, that'd be great.
Thank you very much, David. Let me just say that I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
I've always been an optimist. I'm like Reagan's pony. If any of you remember the story of the pony, when he gets bad times, he looks for the pony and the prize. And I've been but this morning, my optimism has been magnified tenfold. You are the future, and I can't tell you how honored I am to be with all of you. You are the future of this country, and thank you for being here, and thank you for being who you are. I'm just so excited about America. Now, I come from a very wealthy family, fairly wealthy family. My father was head of, for 25 years, CEO and chairman of Cleveite Gould, which was the 90th largest company in the U.S. My mom was from a very wealthy family as well. My grandfather started 4 steel companies. My other grandfather was a brain surgeon at Western Reserve Medical and at the University of Vienna. And it goes back and back and back and back. So I come from privilege. My brothers both went to Yale. My father went to Yale. My daughter, my son-in-laws, my nieces, nephews. So I've been of privilege all of my life. And I came into economics because I loved it. I didn't need it for a job. I didn't need it for anything. I loved it. When you look at economics, it's awesome. I mean, how did all these things get made? How does that building get beat? I mean, with all the prices, movement, everything else. If any of you have ever seen Milton Friedman's lecture on the pencil, it's just incredible how awesome economics is. And being a fairly spiritual person myself, if any of you know your German, it's Sein Ehrfurcht vor Gott, is stand in awe before God of this wonderful economics that goes on. And I've been pulled into economics that way. Now, the specific reason is I took a year off from Yale. I was a math major. I went to the University of Munich. And at Munich, they didn't have any math classes that I didn't already have. So I took Volkswirtschaft and Betriebswirtschaft, which is macro and microeconomics. And I fell in love with economics. I came and switched my major, graduated from Yale in economics, and have loved it ever since. But let me just say, there are a lot of people who go into economics to make a living. They go into economics to have power, to go into economics to be able to utilize that to make a way. And, you know, these people are the government people. They take this wonderful thing called our economy, and they try to poke it and prod it and use it for their own personal gain. My view is just the opposite. My view is that economics should be really looked at and wondered at, not trying to use it as a control. You know, when I see a crisis is the exact time we need free markets more than anything. Our motto with Ronald Reagan was, don't just stand there, undo something. Not do it, undo something. You know, when I go to Harvard, and I'll just finish with this little Harvard story, I see all my colleagues and professors there, and yeah, they were pretty good students, never as good as I was, no, just teasing. I see them, and you know, I came to the realization, do any of you know why Harvard professors have round shoulders and flat foreheads? Because if you ask them a question, they go, you tell them the answer, and they go. It is lovely being with all of you. I went into economics because I loved the field, and I just love it as much now as I ever did.
Well, I want to correct one thing you said. You don't come from privilege. Your family earned it.
Well, the family did earn it. That's true, but
all right.
It was nice having family before me who did earn it.
Hey, I promised, before we get started, I promised all the kids, 50 or 75 of you guys came up to our football box this past weekend, and I promised I would get those kids to stand up wherever you are and scream or whatever you want to do. And I told them a story that they wanted me to tell in Convo, right? Okay. I was in Boston a couple of weeks ago. Art and I were talking this morning, and he actually knew John Kennedy, correct?
I did.
Yeah, but a lot of the Kennedy family were friends with my family, and so a lot of them came up and said we came to Liberty with Teddy Kennedy in 1983. A small world, but Don Henley was there and Billy Joel, and I thought that was a big deal. But then the next day, 2 days later, I get a call from an unknown number, so I answer it, and it's Kanye West. And so this was on Tuesday, and he wanted to come here. You know, he wanted us to come to his ranch in Wyoming Thursday night, bring the whole family when Kim and the kids were coming out. And he wanted to hang out Friday, come to the football game on Saturday, and then have a church service at 9 o'clock Sunday morning in the football stadium. The Vine Center wasn't big enough for him. He said, that's not big enough for me. So he said, I want 12,000 students in the choir, and I want the rest of the stadium open to the public, but I want those students to practice for 12 hours before Sunday. This was on Tuesday. And so we talked a bunch during the day, and about 4 o'clock, he said, I got to check with the best publicist in the world first. And he said, you know who that is, Jerry? And I didn't know. Becky said, Kim Kardashian. He said, Becky, you know what you're talking about. So he talked to her about an hour later. He said, Kim says I'm crazy. There's no way to pull something like that big together by Sunday. So we'll do it later. But he said, I want to help the people in the Bahamas. So he decided he wanted to start building houses on his ranch in Wyoming for people in the Bahamas to move to Wyoming. So I got him on the phone late that night with Franklin Graham, who's the best in the world with relief organizations. And Franklin said, those people have lived on that land since the 1830s. It's their ancestral home. They're not going to leave. They don't have passports. They don't have visas. They're going to stay there. And he said, but what you need to do is use your image and your voice to raise money for people there in the United States. And I won't tell you what he said next, but he did not appreciate Franklin saying that. So I had to calm it down. I said, Kanye, I'm offended. He said, why? I said, we've talked 10 times today and you haven't cussed me out yet. The first time you talked to Franklin, you cuss him out. But anyway, so I got him to make friends, and he's doing some big things now, and he wants to work with Liberty on a lot of stuff. And so, but then when I told these kids. When I told these kids that came to my box this story, they were more impressed with Kanye West than me meeting Don Henley of the Eagles. I couldn't understand that. Anyway, I digress. Sorry. Todd Starnes is a great friend, and between now and 2020, everybody who's a conservative is going to be attacked like you've never seen before. It's going to be like a bloodbath, and it won't make any sense. It won't be rational. It'll just be trying to throw mud against the wall and seeing what sticks. And Todd is one of the few journalists who fights back and gives conservatives a voice. And so we're so honored to have you here, Todd. And whatever you'd like to say about that situation over the next year, what it's going to be like.
Thank you, President Falwell. And I have to say that I love Liberty University. And a couple of years ago, I was honored to have a Liberty University student as our college intern for the semester at Fox News headquarters. Best intern I have ever had. You know, one of the reasons why I really appreciate what you guys are doing here in this incredible place is because Liberty University and the students here and the students that study here and the students that graduate from here and go out into the workplace, you are going to be the ones that save this nation from the rise of socialism in America. And beyond that, what God is doing in this place, several days ago, I was reading on FoxNews.com a story by Caleb Park, one of our great journalists there, and he told the story of an incredible worship moment on this campus as the sun was setting, and to see thousands of fellow brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ worshiping the Lord. You see, at the end of the day, and as I write in my new book, President Falwell, the problems facing America cannot be resolved by a political party. The problems in America can't be resolved at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The problems facing our country can be resolved and must be resolved in the church houses of America. And that's ultimately what we do in my column at Fox News and on our show Starnes Country, is we want to tell stories about what God is doing through people of faith in this country, and to partner alongside young Christians who are facing attack, coming under attack because of their religious beliefs. And I can promise you this, any person in America who is stopped from practicing their religion in the public marketplace, you better believe that we're going to be there standing alongside those people, telling their stories and fighting back, which is what we are called to do as Christian citizens of this nation.
Thank you. I already mentioned that you've worked with so many different presidents, but you and I were talking before the convocation today about how you of course support lower taxes but government spending is a form of taxation, and you made a comment. I said, well, yeah, I said it's like taking money from the public because someday it's got to be paid back. But you said even if it's not paid back, it still devalues everybody's dollar. And I just figured that out while I was sitting back here. But you're right. Would you comment on that?
Yeah, well, Milton Friedman always put it clear, I thought very clearly, that government spending is taxation. Imagine a two-person world. If it's good economics, by the way, it's scalable. And that means it works for the US, it works for China, it works for Luxembourg with all 4 people in Luxembourg. And it works in a hypothetical two-person world. Imagine we have only 2 farmers, Farmer A and Farmer B. That's it. There's nothing else except those 2 farmers. If Farmer B gets unemployment benefits, who do you think pays for them? Farmer A. Am I going way over your heads on this one? By the way, I hope not. Government spending is taxation. Government doesn't create resources. Government redistributes resources. And every time the government does something for someone, it does something against someone else. It is a redistribution scheme, so you have all this debt, which is the way they financed it. That's true. But when they take those resources away is when the tax impacts, period. Does that make it clear?
And you guys are going to start working, you're going to enter the marketplace, the workplace soon, and then you're going to understand what he just said a whole lot better when you start looking at your paycheck, and you're not going to get what you thought you were going to get.
Can I tell a joke about one of my kids when he first got his first paycheck and had never understood taxes? It was always Dad that sort of bailed everyone out, and he got this first paycheck. He said, gee, Dad, I didn't get the pay they promised me. Who is this FICA guy who takes all my money? The FICA is the Social Security tax, by the way. And they understood the first paycheck they get, they understand what taxes mean.
This leads us right into what really you're known for around the world. I remember going to the Smithsonian Museum and seeing the Laffer curve on a napkin. Can you tell us what the Laffer curve is for those who are not familiar with it?
Yeah. The way I do it originally, by the way, is I'm a little bit overweight, a little bit tubby, as some of you may have noticed, but when you get old, you're allowed to be a little tubby. And I tell people the Laffer curve is...
Tell them how old you are, they won't believe it.
Well, I'm 80 years old, almost 80. Oh my goodness. So just so you know, the Laffer curve, the real Laffer curve is my profile. Never mind. The Laffer curve is a very simple concept, by the way. And just imagine it. If the tax rates were 110%, so every time you went into the office, instead of getting a check, you got a bill. How long would you work? None. Even though the tax rates were very high, no one would work, there'd be no income, and there'd be no tax revenues. If tax rates were 0, how much revenue would the government collect? A lot of people would work and be productive and all that, but the government would collect no revenue. Now imagine you start raising the tax rate from 0% to 1% to 2% to 3%. What happens is, of course, revenues start going up. Now a few people stop working, but you're still getting more and more revenues. Likewise, imagine what happens if you drop the tax rate from 100% to 99% to 98% to 97%. At some point, there are a few people who start working, and you start getting tax rate. If you plot this curve out, and it's illustrative, by the way, it's an illustrative curve. By lowering rates, tax revenues rise to a certain point, and then they start coming back down again to 0. This is the Laffer curve. What it says is there are 2 tax rates that are related to any one amount of tax revenue. Whenever you're in the upper or prohibitive range, frankly, you have no business being there. The government should lower tax rates and collect more revenues. And if you look at it, it's really true. The 2 most pro-growth presidents on earth, the Reagan-Clinton period, we ran surpluses with enormously prosperous growth and tax cuts. And also under John F. Kennedy, we cut tax rates and had big surpluses as well. Economics is not politics. It's not left wing. It's not right wing. It's not liberal. It's not conservative. It's not Republican. It's not Democrat. It's economics. It's math. And it works for everyone, irrespective. So you can be a Democrat and be a supply sider. You can be a Republican and a supply sider. You can be the opposite too.
As a matter of fact, you voted yourself for Bill Clinton twice, and you're a patriot. You just want America to be healthy and prosperous, right?
Yeah, I'm a Kennedy Democrat. I'm a Reagan Republican. I'm a Trump Republican, and I voted for Clinton twice.
You're an American.
Yeah, even though Clinton disgusted me, his behavior wasn't my type, but he sure did a good job on economics.
Well, we actually, in 1989, we were working on trying to do a bond issue. Liberty was struggling back then, and we hired the Stevens Inc. investment banking firm out in Little Rock, and they brought their lawyers with them, which was the Rose Law Firm. Well, nobody had ever heard of Bill Clinton back then. They were here doing due diligence for months, and I've still got the letterhead: Hillary Clinton, Vince Foster, Webb Hubbell, Bill Clinton, I think, was on the letterhead too. And but they were here. We didn't know who they were. A few years later, he was president, and it was an interesting time. But we didn't get the bond issue. It was tough days back then. But I was saying this morning at the opening that every successful organization, entrepreneurial organization, most of the time goes through a period where you barely survive, and that's what we went through for 20 years. And that's what I want you guys to learn, is when you get out there, it's not going to be easy. You're going to go through times when you think there's no point in continuing, the hurdles are insurmountable, but that's when you really have to keep getting back up, keep fighting, never give up. And I think that's what both of these men, everybody on the stage has experienced. But we got 2 books. David, tell about the books.
Yes, sir. We have both of your books, and one of them is Cultural. What? $5, y'all. Each of these are $5, so you can get those. Cultural Jihad and then Trumponomics. Both of those, for the first 100 copies, will be $5. Nothing says comedy like a $5 book, obviously, so enjoy that. But Todd, this is such a provocative title for a book.
I think they're laughing because you changed the subject. I was talking about something totally different.
No, you soft pitched to me about the books, and I was just...
And then you held the books up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He said books, I went to books. Can you...
No, you held the books up before I said books.
Oh, I held the books up before. You want to do it again? Let's just try that. Pitch it to me again, Jerry.
You made me lose my train of thought when you held those books up.
Let's go back. Throw it to me again. Watch this. Watch this.
David wants to tell you about some books.
Oh, books.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, we have a few books. One of them is called Culture Jihad. And the other one is called Trumponomics. And then you can get both of these for $5 today.
It's only the first 100, right?
That's right. Todd, will you tell us about the book title?
Well, I'd be glad to, David.
Thank you, Todd.
Back to you, President Falwell.
God bless you, Art.
I have to tell you guys, I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and put our football team on your prayer list.
How are the Tennessee Volunteers doing this season?
All right, that's it. I'm out of here.
Blessed are the persecuted, brother.
Oh, sweet mercy. I realized back in 2000, I think it was 2007, 2008, they said people like me, I was born and raised in a blue-collar home. My dad was an electrician. My mom was a homemaker. I got saved at a small Baptist church and grew up in the Awana program and just loved. Oh, we've got some Awana folks here. All right. What a great ministry that is. And I realized there were some folks talking about people like you and me on the national stage. They said folks who cling to their guns. I'm a member of the National Rifle Association. clearly the safest university campus in America, right here. But they say that there were people who cling to their guns and cling to their Bibles, and they said that we were bitter people, that we were deplorable people, irredeemable is what they said. And I write about this in the book because I am proud to call myself a gun-toting, Bible-clinging son of a Baptist. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter, I'm blessed, and I'm not irredeemable because I've been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. And after President Trump was elected, I realized that we had some problems in this country, and problems that were festering just under the surface, called the rise of socialism. And I realized that under socialism, our freedoms were coming under attack. Specifically, the freedom of religion, religious liberty, free speech, the right to bear arms. And I realized that we needed to address these issues. And so we talk about these issues in Culture Jihad. And you're right, David, it is a provocative title, but we're living in a very provocative time right now. And I think that the body of Christ, many churches around this country have disengaged from the culture conflict. And my book is really a call to action for people of faith to stand up, not yelling and screaming, but in a winsome way. We have a responsibility, as Adrian Rogers once said, we are not to be silent lambs. We are to be civil, but not silent. We must speak up. And I believe that as Christians, as followers of Jesus Christ, we have a unique responsibility to defend freedom and liberty in this great country. And that's why I wrote the book.
Can you expound on the term you coined, happy warriors, as it relates to that?
Yeah, I loved writing this chapter in the book about why we and how we are to engage the culture. And we have to be happy because, look, our hope, people say, Todd, are you hopeless about America? No, I'm not hopeless at all, because my hope, as the great song in our hymn book said, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. And with that hope, armed with that hope, we really can make a difference in this country, not by yelling and getting in people's faces, but by loving them, by helping them and coming alongside of them when they're facing issues in their lives. We have a responsibility to take a stand, salt and light. But the problem is, unfortunately, a lot of Christians are on a sodium-free diet these days.
That's a perfect transition to another happy warrior I know. His name is Dr. Art Laffer. He's sitting next to me. For his life's work, for being a happy warrior, and Reagan was referred to as a happy warrior as well. He was just awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and I think we got a little reel we want to show you on the highest award any civilian in the United States can receive. And so let's see if we can tee that up.
Today, it's my privilege to award our nation's highest civilian honor to the father of supply-side economics, Dr. Art Laffer.
Give him a big round of applause. Art, what grade do you give President Trump on taxes, and what's it like to be in the Oval Office being recognized by the entire world for your life contribution?
It was so awesome being in the Oval Office. I've forgotten all about it. I was just bewildered. No, it was really great. It was super. I mean, I can't tell you how thrilled I was and how humbled I was by that event. I mean, I thought Trump was a great guy beforehand. I thought he's been a good president on economics. The tax bill in 2017 was the best first-term tax bill ever. I mean, we really did the job on it. He did it great. He's deregulated the economy. We have transparency, executive order on medicine, which is wonderful. I mean, this man is transforming America towards prosperity. And if you look at what's happened, the rest of the world's moving into recession. And the U.S. is the one country that stands out for being prosperous in this whole world, and that is because of Donald Trump, period. The other, if I can say, with Margaret Thatcher, whom I worked with for a long time as well as Ronald Reagan, nothing could be more thrilling than to have worked personally with both of them. I mean, Ronald Reagan is awesome. Can I tell a little story? Sure. You know, some people ask me how I got so close with Reagan, and I said they had a big stadium like all of you here, assembled all of the economists in the world, and Reagan came through and looked, and he took off his glasses, and he looked at every economist, and he said, I'll take the little short fat one over there. By the way, that's not true. That's not how it happened. My godfather happened to be his best friend, Justin Dart. So I was able to work with Reagan for all those years. It was awesome to work with him. He was one of the best people, never a negative phrase, never a negative thought. He was really the optimistic president, and what he did created a prosperity that lasted for generations, literally. So I've been so blessed in my life to be able to work with these people. I can't tell you how wonderful it is, and I just hope and pray that all of you get the same opportunities I had.
Well, it's no coincidence David just reminded me that these two gentlemen are here together today, because to have a country as great as America, you need both. You need smart economics, you need limited government, but you also need Christians to love their neighbors as themselves and to act ethically in business, and to really, you could have the best economics in the world, but if you had a bunch of corruption, and that's what's happened in a lot of countries. It's the corruption that keeps them from prospering. It's, even if they had the right economic principles, unless they have the Judeo-Christian ethic that Todd was just talking about, it doesn't work. There's only so much that law enforcement can do to regulate people's lives. It has to be from the heart, from Christianity.
Well, you're absolutely right, President Falwell, and it was President Adams, and I wrote about this in the book. It was President John Adams who said that our Constitution, our way of government, is wholly inadequate for anyone other than a religious and moral people. You know, it's interesting. I think a lot of Christians over the past few years have been told that we really don't need to have a voice in the public marketplace. We need to just keep to ourselves, to do what we do in our church houses. But I tell a story in the book about the early days of our country. They were having a hard time finding people to stand up and fight the British. Well, there was a guy that was preaching in Charleston, South Carolina, at the First Baptist Church there, a man by the name of Oliver Hart. And he was preaching from his pulpit about issues like freedom and liberty. And he was such an incredible communicator that a delegation was sent down by the Founding Fathers, and they commissioned this Baptist preacher to go out into the countryside and to preach that message and to help recruit men to fight the British. And I thought it was interesting that when it came time to fight for freedom and liberty here in America, they came to the church house first. And I think that's a great legacy and a great heritage that we have to re-secure and that we have to study and embrace ourselves here in this new day. Because as wonderful as things are here in this country, as the economy is booming, as unborn babies are being protected, as we are seeing religious liberty secured, the fight continues, and we have to remain diligent, President Falwell, in the days to come.
Well, I noticed in the green room before we came out, there was a book by Alexis de Tocqueville. Your quote made me think of this. He said he came to America, I guess, in the late 1700s, and he wrote a big, thick volume about what Americans were like, what the country was like. But his most famous quote was, "America is great because America is good. If America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great."
You know, I think he was a non-denominational guy, de Tocqueville. Mm-hmm. Maybe he was a Baptist, I don't know.
I don't know.
One of the things that really impressed me.
He was from France, so I don't think he was probably very religious.
French Baptist, I don't know. One of the things that really impresses me in New York City, in the summertime, to see so many college students coming up, Christian students coming up and doing ministry in our city, rebuilding homes. I remember when Hurricane Sandy hit, there were a lot of students there rebuilding houses and helping people really recover from those horrible storms. Those are the stories that I love to share at Fox News, showing people the incredible things that the people of God are doing in this country.
I'd love to close our time by asking all four of you to comment on really this particular moment. Our School of Business today is having its ribbon-cutting ceremony. President Fowler, you have such a vision, even outside of our majors and minors in the School of Business, to be savvy and entrepreneurial as students who are in divinity, to be able to be good in business because they ultimately want to do kingdom business. You know, the Father's business. Speak into that, and then why these things really don't contradict, that being healthy financially only allows those of us as the people of God to be able to invest into sowing the seed of the gospel throughout the world, and how these things go together. And then as our dean, speak into that as well.
My father came from a business family. His dad in the 20s and 30s owned a nightclub where 1,000 people could dine and dance on top of Liberty Mountain. He owned a big hotel. He owned the passenger bus service between Washington, D.C. and North Carolina. He owned lots of oil and gas stations. And it's really true. If you don't obey the parable of the talents that Jesus taught and invest your talents wisely, take risk, there's no way that you can help the poor. To be able to help the poor like Jesus taught, you have to have some money. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. And so all these things go hand in hand, and it's just, my father took that entrepreneurism that he learned from his family into the church that he built, into the school, and we've tried to continue it, and it's just, it's the only way that you can really, that's the reason America has helped more people in need around the world than any other country in the history of the world, is because of free enterprise, because of the limited government, and it created the wealth necessary to help so many others in need. Good.
Well, I love America, and I love the freedoms that we have. It's the greatest country on the face of the earth. I truly believe that. And my encouragement to you is to be bold with your faith. Live your faith in the public marketplace and love people with all of your heart. I want to leave you with my life verse. I memorized this verse in Awana when I was a kid many years ago. Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 19. The sovereign Lord is my strength. The feet of the deer enable me to go into the high places. That's what that verse of Scripture says. And it really gives me courage to know that when times get tough, the Lord is there to take us up and pick us up and lead us on to the high place on that mountaintop. God bless you all. Thank you so very much.
Let me just say what really thrills me here is with Liberty University, all of you are using the skills to become what you could become. You will be developing all these skills to make your way on earth, and hopefully all of you will look back in time and will be blessed by these skills that you have, and will have created a world that's much better than the world we have today. But let me tell you, mix the two together, if I may. The religious aspect with the free market aspect. There's nothing more thrilling on earth than doing well by doing good. There's nothing more thrilling. And you know, when John F. Kennedy, and I think we're all sort of John F. Kennedy fans here, the best form of welfare is still a good, high-paying job. There's no alternative to good economics. And you people are the ones who can bring it in here and make it really, really happen. No American is made better off by pulling a fellow American down. And we're all made better off whenever any one of us is made better off. And the line I stole from John F. Kennedy to use for Reagan in the first campaign is the last line of that phrase: a rising tide, it raises all boats. And I love being here with all of you.
Thank you, Art. Yeah, I just want to share with you all how blessed I am and how blessed you all are. I was served in Congress. That was the honor of my life. But then I was invited to come to Liberty and be a part of this business school. And this is exactly our vision, right? President Falwell set it in place, and he just said it, right? You put the Judeo-Christian tradition together with the rule of law and free markets, and miracles happen. And this place, Liberty, you may not know, if you haven't gone to another school, this place is so distinctive, I cannot tell you. Harvard's motto way back in 1640, truth for Christ and church. You think that's Harvard's motto anymore? No, but that's Liberty's motto. And it is totally, it's almost unique in this country and around the world. And I just want to tell you what Art Laffer's contribution has been in free markets, et cetera. He wrote the cookbook, and the rest of the world is copying the cookbook. So when I started teaching economics, the Chinese and the Indians, 2.5 billion children of God, were making about $1,000 a year to live on. Right? They have been growing at 6 or 7%, following free markets, lowering tax rates, et cetera. And the irony of all ironies is when the rest of the world is moving toward the cookbook, the United States of America and the young people at other schools are moving towards socialism and total government control. And so we have huge work. People say, what's the mission? What are you going to do at the business school? What's your vision? That's the vision. We're all on the same pathway. We're all following God. We're following human reason. The president has laid out just a brilliant vision for this university, and I'm blessed to be here. I'm telling you, you are blessed to be here. We're blessed to have Pastor David leading us in worship all the time, and God bless everyone here. Thank you very much.
Can we one more time thank this panel for just coming and giving their time to us? I want to tell you that both of their books, up to the first 100, are available to you for only $5 out of the generosity of our university. So you can go there and grab those resources. Listen, on Friday, since we have the Seafall crowd plus Brett Favre and 10th Avenue North, be mindful as you come in that we're going to need every seat, all right? So God bless you guys. We'll see you tonight at Campus Community. You're dismissed.
Thank you.